I get too far into this, I do want to make sure that the audio is in fact working. I've had some issues with that over the last couple of days. So, hopefully in a minute it'll pop in live, but I was going to say if you can give about 30 seconds to a minute, we'll make sure everything's working here behind the scenes, and then we'll fully get started with this if everything is working like it is supposed to. So give me just a few minutes, and we'll get started with this live update. All right, let's see if this is working on the audio front. Hopefully it is. But in the meantime, quiet weather for today. We've been stuck in the fog up across northwest Montana. That's been the one unfortunate thing through all this, is that we have been dealing with the fog and low clouds issues up there. Elsewhere, we're seeing pretty quiet conditions. So let me tell. All right. Elsewhere, we're seeing pretty quiet conditions. So just to confirm, the audio issues are not an issue today. So with that, let's get started. I know we got a few more people working their way in over the next few minutes, but if you have any questions or comments, certainly feel free to ask those in the chat section. Overall, this should be a pretty quick update. Not a whole lot going on in the forecast for tonight, but looking out there, again, Dillon, Bozeman, Missoula, pretty nice out there, all things considered. We saw some clouds earlier on in the day into the Missoula Valley, some low clouds, a little bit of fog, but that did burn off by the afternoon. Unfortunately, up into the valleys of northwest Montana, we have not been able to get that stubborn inversion to break. We've been locked in the clouds, locked in the fog. Once you get above a certain elevation, upwards to around, say, 4,500 feet up there, you get above that inversion layer and you're looking at mostly clear skies like you're seeing elsewhere across the region. Right now, we've got those temperatures ranging from the 20s, at 27 in Kalispell and Missoula, to the upper 30s there in Bozeman, 33 in Dillon. Butte's pretty close to that as well. But these clear skies down across southwest and west central Montana are going to be important tonight, as we have at least a decent chance of seeing the northern lights. Earlier on in the day, we had a G4 KP8 type of storm. The data isn't quite as exciting as I might hope it would, at least in comparison to what we were seeing earlier on in the day. But still, the potential for some northern lights displays can't be ruled out. So make sure to have a clear view to the north if you can, and avoid light pollution after sunset tonight. But overall, I've seen some pretty pictures from over in the northeast, up across the Great Lakes, of some of the lights that are out there. We'll have to see if the data changes and we get a little bit more of a southern magnetic field to the geomagnetic storm. That may help to improve our viewing conditions later. But the storm itself is strong enough that it's actually helping to kind of counteract the less than efficient polarity magnetic field of the storm. So there's a lot more going on that is far more complicated than I'll fully admit to say I understand. But in general, there is a chance for the northern lights tonight. Could see some pretty cool sights out there. So if you get any photos or videos of it tonight, share those with us at nbcmontana.com/chime in, and then we'll just see what happens as we get beyond sunset. But like I said, Great Lakes, Northeast, there has been some color. Best way to see it will be not necessarily with your naked eye, but through long exposure photography. That will be the easiest way to at least pick up on some of that color, and at least get at least a pretty shot of the lights tonight. So that's I guess talking a little bit more about the time or the timing of those photographs. When I've done it, I usually shoot anywhere between 8 and 15 seconds. Usually kind of gives the best look of them. But tripods will be your best friend with the northern lights tonight to help prevent shaking of the camera, things like that. But certainly going out and give it a go. We're going to be looking at those pretty nice conditions. It's going to be chilly tonight, no doubt about it, but overall sky conditions should be pretty good outside of the valleys of northwest Montana, where we're still stuck in the low clouds and fog. And the reason for that is this pesky high-pressure ridge. We've been talking about it for over a week now at this point. Hasn't really moved all that much, still sitting along the west coast up into parts of British Columbia, up into the southern archipelago of Alaska up towards Juneau. But this northerly flow, we've kind of been caught between the ridge to our west, the trough to our east, and that's going to be an important role, or at least an important feature of our weather for the next couple of days, because this is just really going to stay in place for the better part of this week. We will start to see some changes later on where the ridge gets pushed a little further off to the west. We get a few more systems in here moving in from the north, but a significant pattern change like we were at least hinting at last week is looking less likely. We were talking about it on Thursday last week, or Wednesday, Thursday time frame, of the potential of a much colder, much wetter weather pattern. Through the weekend, that shifted back to, let's say, Friday, Saturday time frame. Well, now it's looking less and less likely that we're going to see that at all. So the dry period of weather likely looks to continue. We will see a few systems moving through, but overall, nothing looks overly impressive over the next 5 to 7 days. So here's what we're tracking. High pressure remains in place. We're going to continue to see the influence of that with valley inversions for northwest and west central Montana, especially through Wednesday morning. But then we get into more of a northerly flow as we head towards the end of this week. So a bit of a pattern shift. Overall, weak systems bringing some snow into parts of north, central, and southwest Montana. So northwest and west central portions of the state, not really seeing a whole lot out of these systems. And you'll see as we go into Future Tracker, that's going to be arriving later on tonight. Now, speaking of the northern lights, I'd say going out around, or just after sunset here in just the next hour or so could give you a pretty decent chance, because as we go later on tonight, watch how the clouds start to increase. I think this may be a bit overdone in the amount of cloud cover that we're going to see, but in general, we will start to see that increase as our next storm system rolls in. Southwest Montana likely having the best chance to see the northern lights later on tonight. Now, as we go into the early morning hours, you'll see this quick-moving north to south system, still not impacting any of the area until we get closer to sunrise tomorrow. Could bring a few light showers to parts of northwest Montana, especially areas along and east of US 93, where we could see just a couple of flurries. I'm looking at places like West Glacier, over towards, say, Hungry Horse, even down into the Sealy Swan Valley. But overall, I think we should stay dry from US 93 and to the west. As we continue through the morning, going to around, say, 8 to 10 o'clock, this is when it gets down to the I-15 corridor. So from areas from near Drummond over to Garrison, Butte, and then east from there over towards Three Forks, Whitehall, Bozeman, Ennis, Big Sky, West Yellowstone, we'll see more of that light snowfall moving through the area before it quickly moves out. And by the time we get to, say, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, skies are beginning to clear again. We're going to see that quickly move out. And really, if we're talking accumulations with this particular system, we're probably talking an inch or less for most areas, even over some of our mountain passes. So this isn't going to be a particularly strong system by any means, just a quick little hit. It's going to bring a slight cool down to those temperatures, but west of the divide, really it's not going to influence the inversions that are in place. And that's just going to mean more chances for freezing fog, some slick roads and sidewalks, reduced visibility, especially into northwest Montana. This is going to be our main focus. Not everybody is going to be stuck in the fog, but there will be those areas that probably struggle to break out of it, like we've seen up towards the Flathead Valley today. That's going to be the case Tuesday into Wednesday morning as well. There will still be the potential for some spotty fog as we head into Thursday and Friday, but that's when we start to get more of that northerly flow into the region and things start to dry up even more, and that inversion maybe gets mixed out just a little bit. So as for precipitation chances, those are staying very low. For the storm system tonight and into tomorrow morning, we're probably talking about a 20 to 30% chance of some showers in southwest Montana. Elsewhere, really not looking at any kind of precipitation through Wednesday, maybe even through Thursday as well. Friday and Saturday, we may start to see a few snowflakes moving back into all of the region. There's still some big question marks with that, and a few of the longer range models that I tend to look at for some of those, I'll say mid-range models, looking about 5 to 7 days out, really aren't showing a whole lot with that next Friday, Saturday system. They're just moisture starved, which is, I think, kind of interesting because we were, in this major moisture surplus in December. Most of our storms in January have been moisture starved, so we kind of have gone back and forth with the weather. So it's been a bit topsy-turvy and really kind of hard to get a good beat on what it's going to be over the next couple of months because they've been so different between November into December into January. So right now, again, a lot of indications are showing pretty minimal snowfall, pretty minimal precipitation between now and the end of the month. But like I was saying, that can turn very quickly. Last Thursday, we were talking about the potential of some heavy snow up in our mountains for the middle parts of this week. And like I said, that's just unfortunately not going to happen as it stands right now. So with these couple of systems, the one Tuesday into Wednesday and then another one Wednesday into Thursday, behind that you'll see slightly cooler air starting to move in. This is looking at Missoula. Most of the region will kind of follow a similar trend. Warmest day of the week likely is going to be tomorrow, looking at 35 for that high in Missoula. But then as we get into the end of this week and into the weekend, talking upper 20s, lower 30s, that's going to be common across the region. Looking at temperatures just a little bit below average as that northerly flow moves into the area and the trough kind of just stays in place. Bozeman following a very similar trend, though we might get a bit more cold air for Friday as we're a little bit closer to that trough of low pressure, looking at that high temperature on Friday of 25 degrees, or 24 degrees, I should say. But the big thing with this pattern shift, it was supposed to come right through the area, and over the weekend it just tracked further and further and further east. So now places like eastern Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota are going to get the brunt of the cold air. Western Montana, really not so much. We're going to stay on the mild and dry side of this storm system, but there are some indications a lot further south down into, say, the southern Great Plains, back down into the Ohio, Tennessee valleys, maybe even as far down into the parts of the deep south, the Appalachian Mountains, could have a pretty significant winter system moving in through there. So could be talking freezing rain, an ice storm, some heavy snow on the north side of that. There's still a lot of question marks there. But if you got any friends or family, parts of Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, northern Louisiana, moving into, again, to the deep south, Tennessee, maybe give them a heads up, just let them know that maybe they need to keep a close eye on the weather as we get towards the end of this week and especially the weekend, so that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame, as there could be a pretty decent storm moving through. Still plenty of days to watch that, so we're kind of on the front edge of it, or at least we're getting closer. Essentially, preparations might need to be made moving forward, but bringing it closer to home, there's really not a lot going on when it comes to the weather. Again, there is that chance for the northern lights, so certainly make a run out there this evening, especially if you've got clear skies. Look to the north. Long exposure photography will be your best friend tonight, as the aurora itself may not be particularly strong, even though the magnetic storm, or the geomagnetic storm, is quite strong. Just some more nuanced stuff is impacting the strength of this particular storm. So not going to say that everybody is going to see the northern lights tonight, but if you get out there, you get any photos, again, feel free to share those with us, nbcmontana.com/chime in. I think I'm going to start wrapping this up. Again, I did this Facebook Live, YouTube Live, since we don't have a 5 or a 6 broadcast tonight due to basketball, but we will have a live broadcast at 10 with all the latest news and weather updates, so certainly tune into that. And then tomorrow morning, NBC Montana Today with Chief Meteorologist Brooke Foster and Jason Hurst starting at 5 o'clock. So I might sneak another one of these in later on this week, just depending on how the pattern shift actually transpires. Probably looking more into that Thursday, Friday time frame before we see more significant impacts or changes to our forecast. Just a few showers in southwest Montana into early tomorrow morning. That moves out pretty quickly, and then we may see another quick little burst of snow. Not expecting much with even the second round is probably even weaker than the first, down towards Bozeman as we get into Wednesday morning. But overall, little to no impact is expected even over our mountain passes. So I hope you all have a great rest of the evening. Have a great night, great next couple of days, and I'll see you all on the next one. With NBC Montana, I'm meteorologist Mitchell Coombs.